Alright, so in this video here, John Hagee is talking about how when Christ comes to earth, he's going to set up his throne, he's going to rule with an iron fist, or whatever it was he said. And he was basically referencing the fact that at that point, everyone will worship God, and he will be able to, quote, force the ACLU to do what he wants them to do. And it's just amazing to me to see someone who thinks he's speaking for God, yet he's saying the same things I'm sure that Hitler would sympathize with. And it's just so frustrating, because I think this is a huge part of what's wrong with America, and indeed the world, but especially America, politically. Because a lot of the same problems I see in politics translates to our faith, and I can't help but wonder if our faith doesn't actually start a lot of it. And maybe I shouldn't even use the word faith. Maybe I should just use mainstream churches, religions. Um, I've developed a certain disdain for churches. I do not like them. I do not like what they preach. I think they're dangerous and they are bass-ackward towards what they should be, preaching. Now I know there are always some churches. Everyone says there are some churches, that are good, but that's not really the point. I'm talking about the bad ones. The fundamentalist Baptist churches, Catholic churches are pretty rough, useless. But Hitler himself, Hitler also believed that human beings are dirty and imperfect and needed to be perfected. He wanted to perfect man. He hated the Jews. Now, that was his particular hate. For John Hagee, it probably would be homosexuals, Arabs, Muslims. You could think of other ones. Uh, Gluttons. No, yeah, I'm sure he's cool with that. But so, in many ways, I look at my faith is so different today than it used to be. I now see that the true enemy of man is tyranny, is force, is control. That's the true enemy of today. So in all things, I always look at that. I always look at, you know, if it's a political issue, I look at, is the political leader, are they pursuing a policy of peace and nonviolence to resolve something, or are they pursuing force and aggression and a tyranny to force people? That to me is that should be the true message of Christianity, and that is to convince, not force, to have the free will to choose, as opposed to being forced or you'll go to hell. That is the ultimate, to me, battleground, if you will, between good and evil. Force versus freedom. And when I go to churches, most churches, not all, Methodist churches are a little better. Some churches are worse than others. Baptist churches are pretty rough, stuff like that. Fundamentalist churches are going to be pretty rough. Because in my opinion, they're actually serving, the other side. Because this is something I've always had a hard time with this, and I never understood it. They would sit there in church and they would talk about how, Jesus forgives you for your sins. They would say that over and over again. And so, my question always was, well, if he forgives you for your sins, why are you so concerned about sin? And to me, it revealed a lack of faith. In other words, they sit there and they say, oh, he's going to wash away. He washes away my sins. And yet they stand there and they continually doing the same things over and over again, as though he's going to take away that washing of. And to me, it reveals a lack of faith. And this is throughout. All these leaders, to me, do the same thing. They talk about salvation, but they don't really seem to believe in it. They seem to think, I guess, that you have to constantly be washing yourself of sins or something. It's just, I don't know. That sounds pretty exhausting to me and kind of silly and unworkable. Look, the bottom line is, you don't have to go to church for this. Just live your life the best you can. Be as good as you can. Accept that you will make mistakes. Don't hate others. And move on with your life. Okay, that's what you need to do. That's my church sermon. You don't ever have to come back.